What's up, everyone? Welcome to Akuma's Arsenal, and today we will be discussing the early inventions of Breguet. So, to start it off, Breguet was founded by Abraham Louis Breguet in 1775. I would consider Abraham one of the grandfathers of horology. He invented many great things. This company was a French company and made watches from everyone from Marie Antoinette to Napoleon to various kings and queens. I believe they made the first wristwatch, and they have a very rich early heritage of their company. Here's some of the inventions that Breguet did in their early years. They made the very first self-winding movement. They invented Breguet hands, the gong spring, equation of time, the parachute, perpetual calendar, Breguet balance spring, the tourbillon, the first wristwatch, the chronograph. So first, let's talk about the self-winding watch. It was called the perpetual. Only about 90 pocket watches in existence have this movement. It was a sprung weight on a pivoting arm, jumps up and down to wind the mainspring. So imagine a briefcase, and in the briefcase you have a metal ingot, and whenever you move the briefcase around, the metal ingot shakes a bit, and that goes, let's say imagine this. Here's a good visualization. We'll go back to the briefcase. There's a briefcase, and in the very center of the briefcase there's a compartment with a spring and a metal ingot on top, and whenever you move the briefcase up and down, the spring moves up and down, and that helps to wind the wristwatch. Once again, it's the very first self-winding watch. It's not a rotor. Let's make that clear. It's not the first rotor. It's the first self-winding wristwatch. They made the first perpetual calendar, blah, 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 blah. But I want to talk to you about the Marie Antoinette wristwatch. It was called the Breguet number 160. It was a grand complication made for Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France. It had all known pocket watch complications at the time: clock, perpetual calendar, minute repeater, chronograph, power reserve, parachute, chime, and an independent seconds hand. It's a very beautiful wristwatch, and I'll make sure to put up a picture of the replica that Breguet made in the recent years. But I want to talk about the parachute specifically currently. The parachute is a shock protection system. So not even before, early pocket watches were very fragile things. If they dropped on the ground, if they fell from whatever, you blah 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 blah. It's like a smartphone nowadays. Would you willingly drop every time you drop your smartphone? You're like, because you're scared it's gonna get cracked. It was the same thing for a pocket watch. So, Abraham wanted to prove that the shock protection system worked. So what he did was, he was in the saloon, and he had the pocket watch with the parachute system. What he did was, he threw his pocket watch on the floor, and if you saw somebody say, you know what, my case is filthy, this is the best case ever, didn't throw their smartphone on the floor, you better damn be sure that they're confident that's not going to crack their phone, right? And he picked up the pocket watch, and boom, it was working. And someone exclaimed, "Does this devil Breguet have to go one step further?" He also invented the tourbillon. The tourbillon is a construct by constant rotation cancels out the effects of earthly gravity. It houses components that are most affected by gravity: the balance spring, the lever, and escape wheel. The carriage rotates every minute. Just think about a human. Well, you know what? Let's talk about space, right? Astronauts, when they go into space, their bones decay because there's not the effects of gravity. There's not that, when you're in space, gravity is much less strong as it is when you're on Earth. But I guess the analogy I'm trying to drive home there is that gravity affects everything. Obviously, it makes things want to fall towards the center of mass. For a watch, however, you have all these delicate little things. You have springs moving, you have all of this stuff. Now imagine if constantly there was a tug going in a certain direction constantly on the wristwatch. And that will make it to go inaccurate over time. But the tourbillon just spins and kind of dispenses that force evenly for those critical pieces. And once again, it cancels out the effects of earthly gravity. So, well said, Breguet's marketing team. Sucks for me. That's all I wrote about. There's a bunch of stuff I wanted to cover, like the perpetual calendar and a lot of other things. But this is one of the core things I want to discuss was the Breguet hands. If you look at the logo of Breguet, the Breguet hands are central in that. Now, some people might not call them the Breguet hands. Some people call them like the sun and moon or XYZ. But you'll find these on all the way from Empire Seikos to World War II pocket watches to World War I pocket watches to World War II wrist watches, from Patek Philippe Calatravas to Tissot's to many different wristwatches throughout the years have had these hands. And I think they're absolutely beautiful. They're the kind of hands that when I look at them, I can't help but feel a bit of amazement that this single human being named Abraham Louis Breguet invented so much of the things that we consider central in horology, or started the process. Shock resistance, the tourbillon, perpetual calendar. I'm actually looking at this that clock, and it had the Breguet hands. He invented hands. He started a company. He did so many great things throughout history, and he really has inspired me to do the same in my life. So, Abraham Louis Breguet, thank you very much for your contributions to horology. I hope to add my own to the story as well. What do you guys think about Abraham? Horology has really changed. It's not so much about... It used to be on like the cutting edge of like human technology and development. Nowadays, not so much. Yeah, but what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on Breguet, Abraham in particular, and his achievements. Thank you very much for watching the video, and Akuma out.